Hello and welcome back. I'm finally back home. I actually struggled to post any videos in the last 2 months because I was traveling. But right now, I'm back. So let's get back to work. Religious nihilism. This concept would actually strike you as being counterintuitive. At the end of the day, it is religion that actually gives us a meaning and a purpose. By being religious and believing in God, our life has a plan. Our life is actually going somewhere. We have a purpose. We have a meaning that we track all the way back to God. So how can the religious be actually nihilistic? If atheism is the contrary of being a believer and a theist, and therefore atheism leads to nihilism from abandoning the gods, you feel, and you know that actual life is a coincidence and an accident, is a cosmological accident, and there is no inherent meaning, and there is no difference between a human being and a fly. There is no meaning and purpose to life. So we get this conclusion from being atheist, and you're telling me that we can get also this conclusion from being atheist, a believer in God, and a religious person. So what gives? Am I losing my mind here? So let's unpack this step by step. Basically, a person, if he was religious, when he abandons religion and a God, he automatically feels this existential void. And since he had a faith or a belief system that his life is actually meant for a higher plan or a higher goal, now he has nothing right now. Now he is empty-handed. What is he living for? This divine authority that was giving him purpose and meaning is now absent. His belief system that actually gave him comfort and made him be able to carry on is now gone. What does he do? He carries on in life absurdly. When existentialism and nihilism clash, they give us absurdism. Existentialism is the idea that we should take responsibility of our own existence. And nihilism, on the other hand, is the idea that nothing has any inherent meaning into it. So when they clash, they give us absurdism. I want to take responsibility of my own existence, but nothing actually has any meaning. So do you know what? Let's just have fun. Alright, that's absurdism for you. Living as though there is a meaning, but there isn't. That's the absurd. So I would say that the new atheist actually finds himself trapped into discovering a meaning to himself rather creating one. So the new atheist lives as though there is actually meaning, but he knows deep down that there isn't any meaning. He just goes through life absurdly. So even if you perceive this guy living the most meaningful life that you could ever imagine, for him it's just following pleasure. That's it. It's just following pleasure. I already said that seeking meaning is actually just seeking pleasure in disguise. The existential non-believer simply says that there is no higher authority. Let's be our own authority and take responsibility towards our own actions. This idea is well perceived by Jean-Paul Sartre. So that's that. Right now, we have just tackled the atheist angle of nihilism, right? So if that is that, the atheist doesn't have a divine authority that actually commands his behavior and commands his life decisions, right? So what about the believer? The believer actually has those type of things. The believer has his holy books, right? And he takes meaning from them. So this is where the problem is, right? If you take your meaning from a mere book, let's just say for argument's sake that God actually exists, and your God and your holy book is correct, and your religion is true. Let's just grant it as being correct for argument's sake. What type of existence is that? To be a follower of orders. I can't do anything except if it was written in a book. I can't go against divine laws. I must adhere to the commands of this divine entity. Whatever I want to do, it must be in favor of this religion. I cannot create anything else except if it was permitted by this belief system. You find yourself trapped in this authoritarian organization that you cannot leave because you're afraid of hell and so covetous of heaven. Existence then becomes labor towards this grand goal, towards this grand divine plan. The world itself becomes like a big factory that we are forced to live inside and work inside towards creating and realizing this God's intention and this God's grand plan. Have I choose to be here? Have I choose things to be this way? What's in it for me in all of this? For what's worth, I could have stayed in a state of non-existence. I wouldn't be deprived of anything then. Am I fated to be a wheel in this big grand factory? This cannot be the case, because existence doesn't precede existence. If you were fated, it was implied that you existed before you existed. And this is logically fallacious. I feel as though a pawn, forced to work, forced to worship, forced to glorify, forced to praise. I am created only for this. What type of existence is this? Honestly, what type of existence is that? I feel myself used, not for my own good, because I didn't exist before I existed. We have just talked about that. But for a God's good, a divine entity's good, an authority's good. I feel as though being a tool. I feel as though being manipulated. What is this? Religion says X. I want to do Y. No. This is an imperative rather than a meaningful life. This is a command rather than a purposeful life. This is an order rather than existing fully. So based on that, the religious person will also end up in nihilism, that nothing has a meaning. I'm here only because a deity decided that it needed me to realize its goal. But what am I in person? And who am I? And what am I doing here? I'm just a tool. I'm just a pawn. Ridiculous. Plus, I'm not free to do anything. Basically, I'm confined by God's omniscience. Whatever I will do, God's already knew that I would do it. I cannot go against the knowledge of God because the knowledge of God is absolute. So this is not free will, because free will is basically having the ability to do otherwise in a given situation. But I can't do otherwise. I need to follow God's command. I need to follow God's command, yes. And I cannot break the knowledge of God. I cannot break God's omniscience. So that's religious nihilism for you. Picture it as a chicken. If I put, for example, a chicken, I bring a chicken and I put it in my farm, and its only purpose is laying eggs for me. Does this chicken has a meaning in its life? No, that meaning is actually imposed by its biology and by me. It is I who wanted to get benefits from its laying eggs for me. But does it have any personal meaning? Any individual meaning? I guess not. So, in terms of determinism, determinism only reinforces the idea of nihilism. In the religious perspective, your actions are actually determined by God's omniscience, alright? So your existence and you being here and whatever you do is actually predetermined by God's omniscience, right? So that actually would take you to nihilism. On the other hand, in the atheist perspective, he is still not free. Why is it the case? He is not free because of a determined cause and effect, of a determined causality, just an event following an event. The universe and existence itself is the one that put him there. He himself, as the individual, didn't choose any of this. So nihilism here, nihilism there, pick your poison, whatever. But if I had to choose, I would definitely choose the theist worldview. Of course I want to live in eternal heaven, but there's a problem again. Because when I die, I would definitely cease to be conscious about myself. Therefore, I would not be in a feeling of being deprived of the future me. I would not be right there just being anxious about my future paradise, because I would just cease to exist. But anyway, just the idea of being joined with your loved ones and an eternal paradise seems great to me, even if it would seem to be boring, I guess. Especially if you link it to our biology and how we have evolved. I mean, living forever, how would that be? we have evolved to live a maximum of 60 years. Even the ancient humans lived only for to 30 or 40, I think. We would definitely find a crisis of meaning in heaven. If we were in heaven, we would find a crisis in meaning because everything is just given. Whatever you wish is given. There is no fight, there is no assertion, there is no dominance, there is no existential power, there is nothing. That would be an extreme boredom for you. On the other hand, the atheist worldview, when ditching the gods and ditching religion, you find yourself forced to adapt to this new condition. You find yourself forced to find a meaning, to come up with your own meaning, not to find it, because finding it implies that it was there to be found. But you find yourself forced to create your own meaning, to assert dominance and to assert your own existence. Thus spake Zarathustra for Friedrich Nietzsche. There is a phrase here that I like. What would there be to create if there were gods? Right? So, this existential idea by Friedrich Nietzsche is very crucial. If there were gods and the religion was true, what shall we create? How shall we affirm our own existence? We have a manual how to live, rather how to use it actually. You have a holy book that tells you how to live. What would there be to create? Like, everything that you will try to do must actually match religion and match what your book says. But when ditching religion, you find yourself upon horizons of possibilities. Your existence is upon you. It's your own responsibility. Take control of it and affirm your power. Do whatever you want to do. Even if actually there is no free will, and basically you are just consciousness, being conscious of events unraveling in this grand chain of causality. But we need to be pragmatic here, right? Just believe in free will as though it exists and live your life to the fullest. And thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.